While we wait for the final judgment of by the tribunal, I would like to bring to your notice when the possible judgments, the dates that should be expected on the day that the judgment will be passed. Of course, judgment date for Presidential Election Petitioner Tribunal. This is a question that everybody has been asking. When will be the final judgment? Likely within the end of this month, which is August. The end of this month, we're already in the on the today's date is 18th of August already. So within the end of this month, before the 30th of this month, we're expecting that the court will call on and give a date that the final judgment will be passed, or likely within the end of this month or on first week of September. This is the only period that the court has to tell us when the right person, if it's Tinubu that is the winner of the election, or Peter Obi or Atiku, by law must not be later than 16th of September. So it must not be later than 16th of September. So what does the court has to do? What the court do in election petition? What will they do on that very day? The only job for the court in an election is to ensure that the will of the voters prevail. That's number one. The will of the voters must prevail. If they are passing their judgment, they must understand that there shouldn't be biasness. That people came out and stood under the sun to make sure that their votes count. Number two, the court performed this noble function by ensuring the integrity of the process of the election is upheld. When we talk about the integrity of the process, if you look at everything that is surrounding this election, you would find out that, in fact, this whole thing, did Tinubu truly win the election? Not about Tinubu winning the election. Did INEC follow their own guidelines? We saw so many disobedience from the INEC. They brought out guidelines, they didn't follow it. They promised us that the election will be scanned by the beavers and uploaded to the IRF on real time. Most of these things were not done. They went and gave us 18,088 blood documents, intentionally done by them. They switched off the beavers and blamed it on a glitch. But the Amazon lady who came said that there was no glitch. That even though there was a glitch, it was purposely done by somebody at the top. Number three, it is the duty of the court to prevent the public from electing. It is the duty of the court to prevent the public from electing persons of questionable characters by way of disqualification. So, let's look at the three candidates. How many of them have questionable character? Of course, we know that Peter Obi is cleared. The man that is at the top now is Tinubu. He has questionable characters. $460,000 forfeiture, dual citizenship, money laundering, drug trafficking, a lot of case. His name self, Tinubu, is answered by a female in Chicago. So questionable characters are already on ground for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to defend himself. We should understand that it is the duty of the court to help us clear this mess, because if this mess is not cleared, then a lot of errors will happen. Tomorrow we'll be expecting that a Boko Haram, a retired and an ex-convict, will definitely be the president of Nigeria. So whoever that is in court now should not do otherwise and come to morals to start apologizing after destroying Nigeria, because so many people who did otherwise in the past are now apologizing now, and they have seen how much damage they have caused to this country. Number four, it is the duty of the court to protect and enforce the will of the people by invalidating an election made by irregularities that potentially casted shadow on the integrity of the outcome. So there are a lot of irregularities already. INEC till date cannot give us a meaningful statistics on how they announced Tinubu the president of Nigeria. Till date, we are still expecting them. Till date, they have not changed their guideline. Every guideline they inputted, they didn't follow all their guidelines. So there's a lot of irregularities already in the electoral process. So we cannot continue to believe or behave in a format or in a way evidently known that these people has failed in different means. So this is the duty of the court to protect and enforce the will of the people by invalidating an election made by irregularities. A lot of irregularities already is happening. We saw how many people were injured, how many people were killed because they came out to vote. A lot of irregularities have been registered in this very election. Now, the courts, number 5, the courts have the authority to ensure the electoral process have been conducted according to the law, rules and regulations, and that returns are made in strict compliance with the Constitution. The court have the authority to ensure the electoral process have been conducted according to the law. If you look at it, you see there are a lot of maximum failures already. There are a lot of maximum failures already. The electoral process have been conducted according to the law. It wasn't conducted according to the law. So even though we are not focusing on the 25% in Abuja, we are not focusing on the 460,000 forfeiture by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the lies, the dual citizenship, the lying under oath. INEC on its own failed their law. So we need to first of all look at how INEC played the election. Was it rightly done? If it is wrongly done, then what follows? This is what should be considered. So, with all due respect, INEC should engage properly and know that this is no longer game as usual, because at the end of the day, these things will definitely backfire. Just like I read in the morning, potential surprise judgment by Presidential Election Petitioner Tribunal on INEC. INEC Chairman Mahmood likely to be sentenced to 2 years in prison without option of fine. So after everything has been concluded, every one of them who was involved in rigging this election should be going to jail. Some of them will spend 2 years minimum. They can spend more than that. Some of them 5 years, some of them life imprisonment. Because we cannot continue to run irregularities in our system. The future of our children and the unborn children will continue to jeopardize in different ways. And that is why we stand to consider this very fact. We honestly stand to consider this very fact. Whatever that should be done accurately. So it is the will of the court to make sure that they enlist the proper way to pass their judgment. So let me read number 1 to 5. Number 1 says the court perform the only job of the court is in an election is to ensure that the will of the voters prevails. That's number 1. Number 2, the court perform this noble function by ensuring the integrity of the process of the election is upheld. Number 3, it is the duty of the court to prevent the public from electing persons from questionable characters by way of disqualification. Number 4, it is the duty of the court to protect and enforce the will of the people by invalidating an election made by irregularities that potentially casted shadow on the integrity of the outcome. Number 5, the courts have the authority to ensure the electoral process have been conducted according to the law, rules and regulations, and that returns are made in strict compliance with the Constitution. These are the 5 possible things we're expecting from the court. So the court case should be within the end of this month and shouldn't exceed the 16th of September. If it exceeds, then we know that they are already bribing the judges. Then the next motive will be followed. Thanks for supporting the Future News. Peace.